you're swapping it, there's certain things that work, certain things that don't, and just getting a kit isn't gonna get you done. I went ahead and I reused almost nothing. I reused the AC, which was new, and the alternator. Everything else, water pump, power steering, intake. I did use the factory air cleaner, make it look a little bit stock. Fun. And you know, battery tray, put the fenders in. The errors I made, the mistakes are great and many. I've done it before. I've worked with these and taken a V8 in and out. I did this one 3 times because of mistakes. I tried to get the engine and transmission combination in there all at the same time. But the problem is, as I used the hamburger's pan this time, which is 7 quarts and it's deep, so it didn't fit. So I took the engine back out, tried it a different way, didn't work. Took it apart, put the transmission up, and then dropped the engine back, straight down, worked great. Then I bolted it up, and I was having trouble because I bolted the engine mounts first and then went to do the back and couldn't get there was no space. These trucks are pretty tight, as you can imagine, small engine bay. It originally has a V6 or a 4-cylinder, but then I dropped it down, took the engine mounts out, dropped it down, did the bolts up at the proper torque, put the engine mounts back in. That worked. So that's mistake number 2. First one, transmission, put it in first, then put the engine. Second one, bolt up the transmission, then do the engine mounts. And so that, you know, then I had it in. Third one dealt with my purchases. I bought I guess it was not worth its weight, but a fuel pressure regulator that didn't work. And nicer looking, nicer, cost a little bit more money, but it wasn't of good quality, and it didn't regulate the fuel pressure down from the original 18 to a usable 6. I then went to, you know, the Advance, and I bought the just regular off the shelf fuel pressure regulator. That works fine. So now I'm using the cheap regulator, and the other one is it's just trash basically. And so that's number 3. You know, use good parts that you know. Sometimes, yeah, try new stuff, but look at reviews, look to see. I just bought it, and if I'd known it, probably looked at the reviews, would have known it didn't regulate below 20 pounds. So anyway, and that's 3 there. Put the engine together, put everything on it, and I was looking for hoses, and that took me a lot of time. This truck's been done for a long time, but I've just been adding to it and stuff. But the hoses took me weeks to figure out. I was trying to go in front of the engine through this little hole right here, and wouldn't work. I kept thinking that the stock stuff wouldn't work. One day I just bought the stock top and bottom hose, brought them home, and they worked great. This truck for some reason did not have the stock hose on it, so the one I took off was different. It was going front, and that's why I was trying to duplicate that. But when I bought the stock hose that was supposed to be for this engine, it went behind the alternator, and it worked fantastic. I didn't have to alter that even a bit. It has some interference with the power steering hose because that's moved up. The hose actually moves up, and now they're touching. So I put a insulator hose on there, and that doesn't look like it's gonna, you know. Anyway, bottom hose, and I'll take a look. We'll show you some of this stuff here. So the bottom hose, see if you see it down there. Here. Okay, there's that bottom radiator hose. It's a stock hose, goes up to the pump and there, and I cut it in the middle, took 2 inches out, and then spliced it back together, and it works great. The rest of the problems all deal with the TPS and transmission. So I attempted to use the 4L60E in a carbureted vehicle. Now everybody says you can't do that. Everyone says it's impossible, will not be done. So well, we'll see. I put it in anyway. I have a 700 R4 to put in, but that one is going to need work before I put it in. This one is ready to go. I figured out that it uses the TPS, or I'm pretty sure it uses the TPS to light the TV cable to verify that the car is going, so the transmission starts to do something. I've been driving it around and it works, but I thought the transmission was broken. And the reason I did is because it would rev to about 3,200 before anything started to happen in the transmission, but then it would drive fine. And I'm like, okay, well, it's driving fine, it's shifting fine, so my TPS fix works. But I was thinking, well, maybe I just need to get another transmission. But of course, I wasn't going to put in another 4L60E. I was just going to rip off my TPS and the mount, which goes on the side of the carburetor. I built that, have Fred help me out with that. And then one of the mechanics, Joey, came by and he said, well, when you put the V6 transmission with a V6 torque converter behind the V8, for some reason, it brings the stall speed from about 1,600 to about 3,200. And I had no idea. I was told that once before, but I had never remembered that. So looks like that might have been the issue. I haven't actually driven it since then, but it seems like that might be a thing. There is another issue. And this is the front. This isn't the issue. This is, I put a 2.5 inch spacer right there. And that has, it seems to be working. The wheel well opening is a little bit big, but when it comes down, it'll be right where I want it to be, right at the fender. The fender will come down and it'll be right there, and we'll avoid being scraped, but yet look nice and tight. So, and the back, on the other hand, the spacers didn't do the trick. So I've ordered a bigger spacer. This is I'm gonna put a 3-inch spacer back here, and hopefully that'll work. Back here, I put a 1.5-inch spacer because the original wheel I was going to put back here was a little bit wider and had a different offset. And these just came available, so I bought these instead. They had tires that I could use, and yeah, they were okay. Then I sold the ones I had for the same money without tires, so they're okay. Not my preference. I preferred the IROCs. They were nice. So those are the couple of things that, had I known, I would have done a little bit differently. The truck is dynamite. It's quick. Once you get it going, anyway, it drives. It's really loud right now, so I have to do something about the exhaust. But it's pretty neat. I fully enjoy this truck, and I enjoyed doing the swap on it. Overall, it's not a real hard job doing a V8 swap on this truck. It pretty much fits as it should. The fans relocated to the front, that was an easy job. I even maintained the bracket, so I just carved it up a little bit so I could use the fans, and they come on right at 160. Thermostat opens up at 180. A lot of things went right. So the swap isn't impossible. It's quite easy, but there's just a couple of things you got to know when you do it that you're going to run into problems with, and you got to fix and you got to work with. So I'll keep you posted on whether the 4L60E works in there with that TPS mount, or if I end up having to use that 700R4. I hope the 4L60E works. That way I can drive it on the highway without issues, and speedometer will work perfectly, all that stuff. Right now, all the gauges work as they should. Temperature, oil pressure. It looks like a stock truck. You wouldn't even know. You barely know that there's a V8 in there because it's got all the stock equipment, and I wanted it that way. I want to be able to lift the hood and not even know, and then maybe even say it's got a V6. See if anybody figures it out. Anyway.